Today's an exciting day. We're going to start up the 63. And it's very exciting because I've been waiting a very long time, since I was at least like 13 or 14 when we got this car. I've been waiting a long time for this day. And I'm super excited that it's finally here. So be sure to stick around for the ride because I'm excited. Huzzah! She's excited too.
We're at the movies, huh?
Yep, we're at the movies.
Before we start the car, let's talk about the history of this car. So this is a 63 split window. So this car was stolen, stripped, and recovered, and it was all torn apart. So this car was in a garage for about 30 years in the same place, and a squirrel made his home inside the engine and filled the intake, the carb, the intake, into the heads with nuts and other stuff. So the block was locked up tight, the carb was locked up tight. So we had to get another carb for it, the right carb, and about 4 pistons came out easily. 2 were a bit of a struggle, and 2 we had to beat out. But the machine shop did their magic on it, and it should be good as new. Part of the cool thing about this moment is that this is the first time this car has had power in it and has been able to start since 1981. The car was stolen and stripped for parts, and I'll get into that story later. But it was recovered and it put back in the garage and was never put back together. So this is the first time this car has been back together. It was almost like a kit car because every component was missing except for the drivetrain and the body. So, I mean, a lot of these cars are mass produced, so you can get a lot of the parts, but it's still getting parts that weren't originally put together to work together and get everything to work in unison and operate correctly. So that was really big. And this is the original 327, 300 horse small block. So for me, starting the car for the first time is not merely just getting in my 2018 Challenger, pushing a button and driving away. It's a lot more significant in the car, especially at this age and with this history. Also putting in all the hard labor to get there, because the whole time on the car you're working, cleaning stuff up, making stuff look nice and new and shiny, buying brand new parts, installing them. But beyond that, nothing had to work up till the point where you put power to it, you turn the key, fuel starts to flow through the lines, electricity flows through the wires, starts to turn the starter, fuel gets into the fuel pump, into the carburetor, and then bing bang boom, the car starts. So until that point, nothing really needs to function because it's no different than a model car. So it's huge whenever you finally put power to the car and you see what happens. Another big moment, not just having the car start up, is hearing the voice for the first time, because my dad's car has side pipes and it was pretty rowdy. He put different side pipes on and it quieted down just a little bit, not really. But this car is back exhaust, as you know. And I bought the off-road exhaust, which has one less baffle than the standard exhaust, so it should be, which is cool because this is its voice right here. This car hasn't spoken since 1981, so it'll be cool to hear what it has to say. I'm very excited to hear what that sounds like, especially from a 300 horse. I think most of the time they came on like a 340 or the fuel injected, the 360 horse. So it'll be interesting to hear what it sounds like for the first time, because that's the voice, and it's interesting to hear the difference whenever the exhaust comes out right here or right below your ear. Even if it is the same volume, it's obviously going to be quieter when it's back here when you're in the car. So it'll be interesting to see what that is like, especially when we drive it for the first time. Found a buddy. Oh yeah, found a buddy, huh? The first time we got in, opened the door right as Dad was tightening down the battery quick disconnect switch, and the dome lights came on. And that was the first time I saw power coming through the car. So I climb in, hit the horn works, The next thing you want to do is put it in neutral, put the key in the dash, and turn it over. So I did that, clicked the key, you heard the solenoid click, and that was it. So the starter was rebuilt in the car. I rebuilt it, and it was so worn before that the brushes were completely gone and the screws were grinding into the armature itself. So the armature was trash, obviously the brushes were. So I thought by replacing brushes, the armature, bushings, everything would be okay, but I guess there was damage to the coils or whatever that goes around the perimeter of the starter, that goes around the rotating assembly. So that must have been damaged. So the starter came out a couple times, went to Advanced Auto Parts, they didn't have one, even though their website said they had one. AutoZone right next door had one, so put that in, climb in the car, take two, put the key in, turn the key. All right, makes noise, that's a good start. So now that we do that, it doesn't have any fuel yet. So now we go and try to see if we have spark. So hook up the timing light and crank it over. The timing light doesn't blink. So that implies there's no spark. So we go through, this has a electronic module underneath the distributor cap, so it doesn't have points. So we thought there might be an issue with that, so we're playing around trying to get spark, trying to get the timing light to work. And after messing around with it for about half an hour, I said, why don't we just take out the #1 spark plug? I have a spare set of spark plugs from Dad's car. Why don't we plug those in, hold it up to ground, crank it, and see if we have spark. So what do you know, we actually had spark this whole time. The time we have 2 timing lights, 1 bulb is bad in a timing light, and 1 wire is bad for a timing light. So we found which one to mix match to get a working timing light. So all right, we have spark. So the car cranks over, we have spark. So now it's time to fill it up with gas. So now we've got to fill it up with gas, climb in, crank it.
You ready?
Yeah.
You getting anything in the car yet?
I'm gonna look here. Oh yeah, good crank. It takes a little while to get fuel, but once it gets fuel, it fires right up.
Okay, we got gas now.
So it fired right up, but there's a couple problems right away. Number one, there's a massive exhaust leak. The passenger exhaust manifold was removed, and I distinctly remember taking it off and putting it back on late at night and thinking, I'll tighten these up tomorrow because I have to get new bolts for the exhaust manifolds. And I didn't change them and I forgot to tighten it. And then I didn't tighten the flanges that hold the down tubes up to the exhaust manifolds. It's a slight exhaust leak there, so it sounded like a tractor pull truck. And then every single fuel line leaked in the front that had like a 90-degree turn that went into like a flared fitting. So even though tightening those up, it didn't seem to work because everything has to be clocked just right. So ended up having to seal all those up. So once we got all that straightened out, finally got it running long enough to start the timer. So now that we got it running, the big problem is getting it timed right because it's way out. So we have the timing light on it, trying to get it timed and trying to advance it enough and adjust the carburetor screws to get the mixture right. And the body of the vacuum advance is almost touching the intake. So, all right, it sounds like it's running good though, so that's good. Smoothed out. It was really rough before, the idle was rough. So now that the mixture's getting closer and the timing is set pretty close to being right. dieseling like a Mack truck. So it's trying to be like its cousin, the Detroit Diesel. And at one point, Dad choked it out to try to get it to stop, and then it actually started running backwards at one point. So that was kind of interesting. So all those imply that the timing is way off and the mixture is way off. So the distributor is off a tooth. So, which is, yeah, it happens, being off a tooth, which sucks, but made a couple marks on the distributor, pulled it up, lifted it up, rotated it to advance it, put it back in, got it tightened back down, put the cap on, crank it over, get it timed right. Seems like it's running good, better than it was way before. As soon as we started, it was way smoother than it was. The whole car was shaking before it was dieseling really hard. Shut it off, it still diesels a little bit, but not as bad. So, all right, progress. But later we figure out the vacuum advance isn't working properly because the module that's in the distributor, the wire is preventing the vacuum advance from moving. So once that was rerouted, that solved that problem. So whenever the car idles, it makes the most vacuum. So whenever it makes the most vacuum, it opens up and rotates the advance, the weights and the springs. The vacuum overcomes the spring force in the distributor. And then whenever you start to lose vacuum as you increase RPM, the vacuum force is less than the spring force, so the springs take over and close that up as you drive along. So that being said, it had to be retimed again, but once we got that sorted out, it starts up like a top and it shuts off the spring. So now we got those fixed. There's still an issue of an exhaust leak that may be in the mid pipes, which is the only joint in the exhaust. And it seems like it's kind of fixing itself, but alright, that's going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed, please give it a thumbs up. Check out the next video after this where we take this bad girl for a drive. And I still got a little bit of work to do on this car. So make sure you subscribe to the channel to see that. I got a lot of work to do. So I'll catch you guys later. Before we end the video off, I just wanted to do a quick thank you because of the timing of this video. It kind of worked out. I want to do a thank you to my father and for any other father, for that matter, especially car fathers who help keep this hobby going and keep guys like me in business, for helping us work on stuff like this or get us started or get us interested. So happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Make sure you get your kids involved in stuff like this so they become nuts like me, which is always a good thing. Also, shout out to my girlfriend for putting up with me and all my shenanigans. It's easy to go buy a brand new car at the dealership and forget about all this old stuff, but I think this stuff is cool and it's cool to keep this hobby going. So definitely thank you to all fathers. You guys deserve a big thumbs up.